Welcome to Canada Inside, where clarity meets courage, and every truth deserves to be heard. While mainstream voices push the same tired stories, here we dig deeper, question the powerful, and reveal what others won't. You won't get empty headlines, you'll get context, facts, and real talk. So hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell, and more importantly, make your voice count in the comments. Because together, we'll bring truth back to Canadian politics. The news broke quietly. No national address. No media frenzy. Just a handful of headlines and a statement from his family. John McCallum, one of the longest-serving Liberals in Canadian history, has died at the age of 75. To many, he was a public servant of goodwill, a soft-spoken diplomat with academic flair and a polished intellect. But to others, especially those who have watched the country drift further from its roots, McCallum's legacy is not just a memory. It's a mirror. One that still reflects the deeper shifts in Canadian politics over the last 20 years, and what happens when political comfort replaces accountability. McCallum's career reads like a textbook for Liberal state-building. Professor at McGill, economist for the Royal Bank, then rising swiftly through the ranks of government. He served as Minister of Defence, then Minister of Veterans Affairs, and later as Minister of Immigration under Justin Trudeau. He ends his public service as ambassador to China, a role that would later cost him his job. In every post, McCallum was polite, composed, and competent. And in every post, he served the party line with loyalty. But what made John McCallum truly significant was not his resume. It was what he represented. In a Canada increasingly run by technocrats and internationalists, McCallum was a perfect fit, measured, predictable, globalist. While other politicians were busy playing populist games or defending regional identity, McCallum kept his focus on process, progress, and party control. He didn't rock the boat. He steered it. Quietly. Methodically. In some ways, he helped write the Liberal manual for how to govern without friction. Yet it's precisely that smoothness, that comfort, that makes McCallum's legacy so worth unpacking. Because while his tone was gentle, the consequences of his policies were not. As Minister of Immigration, McCallum oversaw Canada's rapid intake of Syrian refugees, a move celebrated in the press, but one that many provinces struggled to manage. Cities were overwhelmed. Budgets were strained. And when concerns were raised about integration, McCallum brushed them aside with a trademark smile. Concerns in his world were just bumps on the road to progress. Later, as ambassador to China, McCallum would once again place party before country. During the 2018 crisis involving Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou, McCallum made comments that undermined Canada's legal position, effectively providing talking points to Beijing while our citizens were still being detained. Even the Trudeau government, usually allergic to accountability, had no choice but to remove him. But by then, the damage was done. So why does this matter now? Why talk about John McCallum, a man no longer in office, when there are far louder political voices in the room? Because McCallum's story is not just about one man. It's about a political class. A way of governing. A liberal mindset that has slowly reshaped Canada, without ever asking Canadians if they agreed. It's about a system that prioritizes global narratives over national interests, centralized control over provincial strength, and polished messaging over uncomfortable truths. And in that sense, John McCallum was not just a politician. He was a symbol. A symbol of the shift from a Canada of vision and courage to a Canada of compliance and consensus. A Canada where policies are crafted in boardrooms, not communities. Where voices like Danielle Smith and Pierre Poilievre are treated as radical for merely asking if Ottawa should be questioned. McCallum's passing is being remembered with words like grace and humour. And those things may be true. He was, by all accounts, a courteous man. But courtesy in politics is only valuable when it's paired with clarity. And clarity was often what McCallum avoided. He preferred smooth transitions, not tough conversations. The irony is that in his final chapter, McCallum became the very thing that critics of the Liberal establishment now warn against, a professional class of policymakers who operate above debate. Who assume their answers are too complex to be challenged. Who believe that a properly managed country doesn't need disagreement, it needs compliance. This isn't personal. It's structural. McCallum, like Carney, like Freeland, like so many others, represents a political ecosystem where ideology is masked by expertise. But the result is always the same: less room for dissent, more control from the center, and a growing divide between Ottawa and the rest of the country. And that's what makes his death politically relevant. Not because he was scandalous, but because he was typical. A reminder that the greatest political shifts often happen not in moments of chaos, but in moments of calm, when no one is watching. When bills like C-5 pass quietly. When new immigration targets are set without parliamentary debate. When international trade deals are signed before provincial leaders even see the details. John McCallum is gone. But the political culture he helped shape is not. And for those of us who believe that Canada needs more autonomy, more transparency and more courage, his passing should be a moment not just of reflection, but of realization. Realization that if we don't speak up, if we don't challenge the system he embodied, then we may end up not just mourning one man, but losing the country we thought we lived in. Here at Canada Inside, we believe in tough questions. We believe in naming the patterns others avoid. And we believe that legacies should be measured not just by kindness or civility, but by the impact they had on the people who lived under their decisions. So yes, John McCallum was graceful. He was composed. But he was also a gatekeeper of a political machine that has left many Canadians behind. And now that he's gone, it's time to ask, do we want more of the same, or are we finally ready for something different? Subscribe to Canada Inside, share your thoughts in the comments, and help us continue the conversation that Ottawa never wanted to have. Because political change doesn't begin in the capital, it begins when the people start paying attention. At Canada Inside, we'll keep tracking these critical developments, cutting through distractions to expose what really matters. Subscribe, stay sharp, and join us as we uncover the forces shaping Canada's tomorrow. Because truth deserves a voice, and here, your voice has power. Let's reclaim the conversation together.